What would you do to make sure that Greater Minnesota prospers like the generations before them? We'll start with former Governor Pawlenty.
The issues and opportunities facing Greater Minnesota in some respects are similar to all of Minnesota and the rest of the country. Greater Minnesota needs and wants employers and jobs to be present. They would like health insurance to be affordable and accessible. They would like their schools to be safe and strong and aligned to the needs of the opportunities of today and tomorrow. But then there's also some unique issues that are important to Greater Minnesota, and that's why having a champion for agriculture, riding some of the waves that we have rather than creating new ones is a smart strategy, and one of the big waves we have is agriculture. And we need somebody who is going to be a champion for agriculture, food, and food processing in our state. But we also need to know that people aren't going to migrate to cities or places around Greater Minnesota unless there's job opportunities. And so we need to be able to have strong incentives in an environment where employers want to grow and to add jobs in Greater Minnesota, and we need the strategies to do that. And so the business environment in our state is really important, and last time I was governor, I'll do it again, we have special incentives for that kind of growth in Greater Minnesota.
Attorney General Swanson.
Yeah, well, as I mentioned, we need to deal with the trade problems. If we don't deal with them now and the trade wars go on and on and on, these other countries will develop permanent supplies, and we may lose them once they build up the infrastructure, and they won't come back if that happens. And so we need to get the trade situation under control. I'll do that with Washington. I'm going to also do trade missions to other countries and try to open up as best we can in light of the federal situation trade here in the state of Minnesota. We need to support ag education. You know, one of the areas is a four-year degree isn't necessarily the best way for everybody to move forward. We've got wonderful community colleges and technical colleges. We need to support them. We've got a shortage of instructors. We need to have more ag instructors so that we're training people for the jobs of tomorrow. I had to appoint a coordinator to work with me in the governor's office to match up labor and our community colleges, a business community, so that we're training people for the jobs that are going to be coming down the pipeline. We need to make sure we have workforce housing so that there's housing for people. We need to make sure we have child care. Minnesota's got some of the third highest child care rates in the country, and we have a lack of child care providers, and so we need to deal with the child care situation as well.
Commissioner Johnson.
So two issues really stand out to me, although there are a lot of them. One is we have to be more competitive with the states that surround us so that the good jobs that are being created are created here. Not just because we have better people, not just because we're more beautiful or have better education than our surrounding states, but because it also actually makes sense to do that. So whether it's taxes, whether it's regulation, or whether it's starting to permit at the speed of business rather than government, I think that's fundamental, and we can fix that. The other biggest problem I hear when it comes to keeping young people in communities is well, they're unable to do it. I hear it every day that small businesses around the state can't find workers. Whether they're skilled workers or less skilled workers, they can't find them. So number one, I believe that we should have a work requirement for able-bodied people on welfare. We should take out every disincentive from work for those who are able to work in the state. It will help solve that problem. And I repeat something that Lori just talked about. We have this assumption that every kid has to get a four-year degree to be a success, and it's simply not true. And so as governor, I'll use the bully pulpit to actually celebrate those who are going for a different path, whether it's a trade or a tech school or an apprenticeship program.
Representative Murphy.
So I feel like I've had the best seat in the Minnesota House in the course of this campaign because I continue to see Minnesotans finding solutions to problems. I was in Alexandria not too long ago. There they have academies in their school. They're connecting the community and employers, high school education, hands-on in trades, in agriculture, in culinary arts, in communications, and healthcare. So high school students can get a sense of where they might want to go, and then creating that pipeline to their community colleges or to four-year universities. But the good news about this example is that those high school students understand that they have a job in their future in a community in which they grew up. That is creating a pipeline to employment in that community. We need to continue to do that work. We need to open up markets. This trade war that's going on in the United States of America is no good, and as your governor, we will conduct trade missions. We will find new markets for our goods and services so that you are able to sell your goods, because I know what you want are open markets and not a $12 billion gift from the federal government. And last but not least, We have to be a place where people want to come and live from other parts of the country and other parts of the world and across this state. We know that immigrants are doing a lot of work and they're a part of the fabric of the state of Minnesota. And when I am the governor, we're going to make sure those Minnesotans are our brothers and sisters, our Minnesotans who are contributing to our economy. That is important for the workforce of our future.
Representative Wall.
First of all, as your governor, I'll be a champion of this state. What you're doing and what people are doing, entrepreneurs across this state, is creating one of the healthiest economies in the country. And I think we can always do better, but this continuous that it's not good and I'm hearing the problems and all that, we can address and get after them. If it's not enough to point out problems, we need solutions. The question was about rural areas. We successfully, us together, passed the beginning farmer and rancher legislation that you know is having an impact of moving new people onto the land. We have Vets for Farm Bill, moving our warriors onto the land with smart policies that get them in our communities. What we know is places like Mankato that have Green Seam that are collaborating together, state, federal, local, nonprofit, profits, to form a community that understands agriculture and agricultural expansion is the key to our future, where people want to come to our communities, welcoming communities. And that goes exactly to that point. We are going to need workers over the next 25 years. 70% of Minnesota's workforce is going to come from communities of color. It's in our best interest to have comprehensive immigration reform that makes sure the folks coming here, we know who they are, but we live on that tradition that we are a welcoming nation of immigrants that built the greatest country in the world. As your governor will do it.
As Boyce said, we've come to the point of final statements, so in this case we'd like to allow 2 minutes per question, and a pretty easy question here for you. Just tell us why the people of Minnesota should elect you as the next governor, Congressman Walz.
Well, first of all, thank you again to our host for this great event. It's a tradition that all of us look forward to. Thank you for all what each and every one of you do. I'd like to point out two pretty special people here. My father-in-law, Val Whipple from Ivanhoe, Minnesota is here. Thank you. And somewhere around here is going to be the greatest lieutenant governor we could get in Peggy Flanagan is coming around here somewhere, state rep, so thank you to her. I grew up in a small farming community. I had 24 kids in my graduating class, 12 of whom were cousins. My mother sits on that land till this day. I joined the Army the day after I turned 17, and I spent 24 years serving this nation in uniform. I have the privilege and the responsibility of being the highest ranking enlisted soldier in the nation's history to serve in Congress. I tell you that. I used the GI Bill, and I became an educator, teaching our children and coaching our children and being part of our community. I never prepared my life to run for office, but I believe my life has prepared me well to bring people together around common goals, to motivate people to understand that we're in this together, and these differences and the pettiness of our politics divides us from what we can do together. This state's future is bright. This state's future is strong. It should not be that difficult to say. We are going to educate with a world-class education every one of our children. Whether they be white, black, brown, or indigenous, it's in all of our best interest to get that right. We can build an infrastructure that safely moves our people, moves our goods, and makes us as competitive as we possibly can. And we can have a politics that is predicated on the best of who we are. A politics that doesn't need to find division, a politics that doesn't need to be nasty, a politics that doesn't need to be petty, but a politics that stands firm on our principles but respects our neighbors. As your governor, I will continue to do what I did in the classroom, what I did on that football field, what I did in uniform, and what we've done in Congress, being someone who can unite this state around progressive vision of a better future for all of us that makes Minnesota, as it's always been, a place of opportunity, a place of fairness, a place of beauty, and a place that we want to call home. Thank you, and I hope we get your vote.
Governor Palani.
Yeah, my voice of thanks to everybody assembled here for taking the time to hear out the candidates. Thank you to the sponsors and the hosts of this event. We appreciate the opportunity very much. Thank you to my fellow candidates. Running for office is a challenge on families and time and other commitments in life, and so I appreciate each and every one of them. The state of Minnesota is a nation-leading state in terms of our quality of life, and different people define that differently. But one thing that's critical about access to a good quality of life for most people is access to a good job or a good economic opportunity. There's a lot of ingredients that goes into having access to a good job. One is to make sure that you ask the employers what they need to start and grow jobs in our state. And the answer to that question doesn't reside with politicians. It doesn't reside with bureaucrats, who most of them have never been in the private sector. It resides with the people who are the entrepreneurs, the dreamers, the innovators, the inventors who go out and take risks and try to build things and grow things, including economic opportunities and jobs every day. And when you ask those people, what do you need to have that happen in Minnesota? The answer is some variation of, please get the government off my back. For some, it's taxes. For some, it's regulation. Some just want things to go quicker instead of the process being so slow. Some just don't want it to have some common sense. But we need to bring common sense back to Minnesota government and a lighter touch. And in fact, less government in people's lives. So the visions that you'll hear today or heard today and we'll hear for the rest of the campaign, for those of us who may survive the primary, I hope I do, but we don't know for sure, is this. My friends on the other side of the aisle basically have a different vision for the future of our state. They want to raise taxes. I think taxes in Minnesota are high enough and we should bring tax relief forward. They want to jack up spending faster than your paycheck goes up. I don't. They want to look the other way on illegal immigration. I think we're a country based on the rule of law. We and streamline. And if you think the Democrats are going to bring that to you, vote for them. But if you look at the records of how they do that, that ain't the case. So we have a lot of work to do in this state. I don't believe in the government takeover of healthcare. They do. I think we need to have private sector approaches to healthcare. And the list goes on and on. So it's two very different visions for the future of our state. I'm running because I love this state, I love the people of this state, and I want to make sure we have common sense in government, not look a lot more and more like Minneapolis or California in some of our future policy directions. I hope I can get your support. Thanks for listening.
Attorney General Swanson.
Well, thanks to WCCO for hosting this. Thanks to all of you for being here, and thanks to our fellow candidates for participating in the discussion as well. You know, my great-grandparents and great-great-grandparents came to Minnesota from Sweden, from Norway, from Ireland, because they wanted a better life for their children. As I mentioned, my family, my parents grew up poor during the Depression. My dad was raised in Duluth and played hockey but couldn't afford skates. And my mom was one of 9 kids in a 2-bedroom house with no electricity and no indoor plumbing until after she left home. Yet here we are 1 generation later, and their daughter can be the Attorney General of the state of Minnesota, running to be the governor of the state of Minnesota. Only in a state like Minnesota is that possible. Only in a country like America is that kind of opportunity possible. And I want all of our families to have the same kind of opportunity that Minnesota gave to my parents. I believe that we do best when we grow from the middle out, not the top down, that our children should be able to aim higher and dream bigger and do better than their parents, and that we do best when everybody plays the same rules and where everybody gets a fair shot at economic opportunity. Now we have so much gridlock in our politics today, where people are fighting, where they're led to believe you shouldn't care about the plight of others unless it provides some personal benefit to you, or you shouldn't listen to what others say unless you already agree with them. We've got to end that to move this state forward. We can't keep having legislative sessions where everything breaks down, where we don't have progress. As your Attorney General these last 12 years, I've focused on results. I've taken on tough challenges as a negotiator, as a problem solver, as a champion and advocate for Minnesota, and we've gotten the job done on issue after issue. And that's what the kind of leadership I'm going to bring to the governor's office as well. You have to think about it. We're a country that put a man on the moon. We found a vaccine for polio, and we invented computers that you could wear on your wrist as a watch and use to pay for your grocery bills. If we can do those things, we can tackle the challenges of today, just like our forebears tackled the challenges of yesterday. We can have in Minnesota the best education system so every kid gets a shot at success. We can have a more affordable healthcare system so healthcare costs and drug costs don't bankrupt families. And we can make sure that everybody gets a shot at a decent job that can pay the bills. I hope to earn your support. And thank you for letting me represent you as Attorney General as well.
Commissioner Johnson.
Thank you. I'm going to stand up for this. I want to thank you, too, for coming out to kick the tires today, and I want to thank Donna again for being such an awesome running mate. My dad from Detroit Lakes is here somewhere, and I want to give a special thanks to former Lieutenant Governor Carol Molnow, who's hanging out with me this weekend and has been this week and has been a great supporter. I'm running for governor to change the culture in St. Paul, especially our state agencies, from that of controlling and directing and telling everybody else how to live their lives and run their business and farm their land and raise their kids, to actually serving the people who pay their salaries. Our state agencies exist for one reason only, and that is to serve us and not to control us. And so when I am your governor, State regulators are going to have a choice to make. They are either going to have to start acting like they work for you, or they're not going to survive the Johnson administration. We have seen, quite frankly, a war on ag in this state for the past 7.5 years, and when I am your governor, that will end. I hope to earn your support. Thank you.
And Representative Murphy.
Thank you very much, everyone, for being here. This has been a really awesome discussion. I grew up in a family that taught me about a powerful kind of politics, the kind that is about us, the kind that is meant to improve people's lives. And I am running for governor because I want to build our future, a bright future for everybody in the state of Minnesota, a future that includes all of us. I have spent 12 years with the people of Minnesota, and Minnesotans have been my very best teachers. Here's what I have learned. We actually love each other. We will actually stand up for each other and fight for our communities. We love the place we love. We love the place we call home. We love Minnesota, and when we remember that and stand together for a progressive vision for the people of Minnesota, we can build it, and that is what I'm going to do. That is exactly what I'm going to do. Inside the Capitol right now are the powerful status quo interests that are holding us back from the things that we need to achieve together. They are the ones that are underfunding our schools across the state. They are the ones that are denying people health care. They are the ones that are polluting our water. They are the ones that are stripping opportunity and wealth from communities, from small farmers across the state of Minnesota, and it is time for us together to stand up and fight for the things that we believe in, and that's what I want to do with you. We will stand up for our children and our cherished elders. We will stand up together for our workers, for our farmers and our miners. We'll stand up for our teachers and our nurses, for our immigrants and our refugees, and I know that when we do that and we see in each other every possibility to build a future for ourselves and for our communities, we will get that done. That's why I'm running for governor. I hope to earn your vote on August 14th. Thank you very, very much for being here. Thank you for being a part of our democracy. I'll talk to you again soon.
Boys, I just want to take a second to thank Mr. TC and all those here at Farmfest who